بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله الذي لا يبلغ مدحته القائلون ولا يحصي نعماءه العادون ولا يعد حقه المجتهدون. الذي لا يدركه بعد الحمم ولا يناله غوث الفتن. الذي ليس لصفته حد محدود ولا نعت موجود ولا وقت معدود ولا أجل ممدود. فترى الخلائق بقدرته ونشر الرياح برحمته. اللهم أفز صلة سلواتك وسلامة تسليماتك على أفضل التعينات المفاضة من الأماء رباني وآخر التنزلات المضافة إلى نوع الإنساني. كان الله ولم يكن معه شيء ثاني محصي لعوالم حضرات الخاص بوجوده وكل شيء أحصيناه في إمام المبين. الرسول النبي المكي الخرشي المدني التحامي صاحب لواء الحمد ومقام المحمود أبي القاسم محمد الحميد. وعلى أخيه وثهره وابن عمه وخليفته من بعده وقائد الغر المحجلين يا صب الدين إمام المتقين أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب. وعلى ابنته الطاهرة الحوراء الإنسية الراضية المرضية الشفية يوم الجزاء فاطمة الزهراء سلام الله عليها.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
وعلى سبتي رحمة وسيدي شباب أهل الجنة الحسن والحسين. اللهم صل على أئمة المسلمين علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد وحسن بن علي وحجة القائم المنتظر المهدي. حججك على عبادك حججك على عبادك وأمنائك في بلادك. اللهم سهل منهجهم وعجل في فرجهم وجعلنا من محبيهم ومواليهم وشيتهم. صلوات ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين من يومنا هذا إلى قيام يوم الدين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. I begin in the name of Allah, the most beneficent and most merciful. I thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the tawfiq that Allah has granted us, and we are here again tonight to commemorate and reflect and learn and make this moment a defining moment of our lives, so that we could walk on the path of Sayyid al-Shuhada, so that we could be inspired and use Karbala as a means of getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is who we are, and our best is reflected and manifested if we could take the teachings of Ahlul Bayt and apply it to our lives. And the discussion that we have been doing, discovering the abode of hereafter, the theme itself is revolving around that material which actually inspires us and prepares us to make our life more meaningful, more challenging, and more purposeful. If you recall our discussion that we had yesterday, I had an extensive discussion in which we talked about the verses in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about His eminent majesty and His power and His sovereignty that would unfold when the day of judgment arrives, and then the malaika, the angels, would descend. But at that time we would not have any opportunity, and the wrongdoers, the transgressors, and those who are kafirin, those who have rejected and those who have denied the message that was brought by the Holy Prophet, they would be regretting. And they would be regretting to such an extent that the verse of the Holy Quran says that they are going to bite their own fingers by saying, I wished I had not taken so and so person as a friend, and I wished that I had followed the path of the Holy Prophet. So before this moment of regret arrives in our lives, we need to aspire and we need to strive on that path that would take us in that direction where we are not going to regret. If we do not know how to get there, and if you are lost, people would feel sorry for you that you did not know your way and so you were lost. But if you know your way and if you are lost, do you think anybody would be sorry for you? Even if you are living in this world, and if you know your way, that's how from point A to point B, if I have to go, these are the directions, these are the set of directions. I have the directions. Now, after even having the directions, if you do not arrive at your destination, nobody is going to feel sorry for you nor sympathize with you. They are going to think that there is something wrong in you comprehending the instructions, especially when the instructions are clear. I can understand when people give instructions and you get lost, not because of your own fault, because the instructions were not clear enough. We do that all the time, and some of us assume in between that we somehow knew that middle step, and we would jump to a step and give instructions or direction to people, and we would find that they are not able to get there. I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about those who had clear-cut directions. They got it from MapQuest, or they got it from some other source, and now they have, it exactly tells you this many miles you need to turn a right, this many miles you need to turn a left, this is a roundabout, you have to take a roundabout. It tells you everything, you have it right in front of you, and even then, if you are lost, then definitely you don't understand the instructions, or you are not able to comprehend and apply the knowledge after you read the instructions. But whereas this could be the same case in our akhirah also. And if the instructions were not clear, you can complain to the person who gives you those instructions. And likewise, if the instructions of our akhirah, of our hereafter, were not clear, then we would be able to stand in front of Allah and complain to Him. You did not give us clear instructions. We did not knew exactly how to get to you. You did not send us a guide. You did not send us the document that would lead us towards you, O Allah. So it becomes incumbent upon Allah for His creatorship. It is wajib in a way. He Himself forces or necessitates Himself to initiate a step so that mankind would never be guided, or never be misguided. Otherwise, we could go back and say, oh Allah, you did not send us a guide, we don't know. You did not send us the prescription which would have followed. Therefore, it is absolutely necessary, my dear brothers and sisters. Now that I have come this far trying to talk about this, let me just give you one more pointer here, which is a very important aspect of our faith, which is Isma, of A'immah and Isma of the prophets. What is Isma? Infallibility of the prophets and infallibility of the Imams. The reason the Imams and the Prophet are infallible, because what if the person who has been sent by Allah and he himself is prone to mistakes, and in fact he goes and commits mistakes, then we could go and complain to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, oh Allah, you have not given us clear-cut directions, and the person you had sent, he himself did not knew what he was doing, and he misguided us. So it is again necessary for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to send those guides who are infallible. So now, after saying this, we also talked about how once the life is taken away from us, from the life of this world, how we could not return back to this world. We have talked about it, and we have given all the reasons why Allah had given us so many resources, and if we have wasted the time and the opportunity and the security that Allah gave, where we could have easily practiced our deen, and if we have refrained, we do not possess any right to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to ask Him, oh Allah, send us back into this world again, and we are going to do virtuous acts. It's not going to happen. And before this whole session was started, the organizers had shown the video of Ayatollah Mujtahidi, and Ayatollah Mujtahidi was one of the very great scholars who recently passed away not too long ago. And I had met one of his students, and in fact he was mentioning how Ayatollah Mujtahidi used to remember death. He used to go to Shab-e-Jummah, and he had made his own grave. It is mustahab that if you can prepare your own grave before actually you die, it's good for you to have that. He would go on his grave and sit there and then cry and ask Allah and recite the verses of Holy Quran, in which a person is going to beg the angels and ask Allah, oh Allah, send me back to this world, and I'm going to go and perform good actions. I'm not going to go wrong again. He would recite those verses and would leave his own grave as if Allah had given him one more opportunity to live. This is how our ulama have taught us to remember ourselves and remember the fragility of our own being, our own existence in this material world. So having said all this, obviously there is a need for us to give you the solution also, so that we have a solution. Obviously Quran itself is the way of life, and the sunnah of the Holy Prophet and Ahlul Bayt, all of this. But tonight I wanted to share one of the advices of our holy Imams, Imam Hassan Mushtaba alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. If I would appreciate if you could recite aloud salawat and move forward as you are reciting aloud salawat for the salamati of Imam Zamana alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. One more salawat, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Junada is the narrator of this riwayah, and he is the companion of the Imam. And the circumstances in which the Imam is saying all this is amazing. It's incomprehensible. We cannot even imagine if we are put into that situation, and if we are asked by somebody at that time, what would we be saying? The circumstances around which the advice of the Imam begins, Junada says that when I came to know that the Imam has been given the poison with which he has been vomiting blood intensely, he goes and he visits the Imam. And he visits the Imam and he's talking to the Imam, asking for his welfare, but he says, I could see the blood gushing out and the tray right in front of him, and he's gushing out blood. And I ask Imam, oh Imam, why don't you get yourself treated? And Imam says, how can you treat death? Death is approaching me and I'm on the verge of passing away from the life of this world. And Junada says, I was there, and after these advices were given to me, the Imam passed away with the poison that was given to him. So he is on his deathbed and vomiting blood, and he is dying, and one of his companions comes and he says, oh Imam, please advise me. Give me some advice. I think we should be at least as anxious and at least as motivated. Here we find the companion of the Imam. That Junada knows that his Imam is dying, but the moments that the Imam has, he wants to benefit from the presence of the Imam. What do you see at the deathbed of the Holy Prophet? The Prophet is dying, and the Prophet of Allah says, bring me a paper and pen, and I would write you a will, after which you would never be misguided. And unfortunately, history, regardless of your madhab, says that the companions or those who were trying to take over were the ones who were saying, this person is delusional right now. They had made, Ma'azallah, the Prophet of Allah, delusional at his deathbed. And this is the Shia of Amirul Mu'mineen and the Shia of Imam Hassan. And he knows that my Imam is passing away. And he says, oh Imam, give me some advice. Tell me what I need to do. And what does the Imam say? Please recite a salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. After Imam telling Junada that I cannot cure death, death is approaching me, the Imam then says to Junada that the Prophet of Allah had taken a covenant from the progeny of Ahlul Bayt to guide the Ummah. Our wilaya, our guardianship that we have over you was a covenant taken by the Prophet of Allah. And the Prophet of Allah had also informed us that we are either going to be poisoned or we are going to be slaughtered. But we are not going to refrain from guiding. The moment Junada hears this, Junada says, قُلْتُ لَهُ إِذْنِي يَا يَبْنَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ. Please give me some waz. Teach me something. Warn me. And here the Imam says, Naam. قَالَ نَامْ إِسْتَعِدْ لِسَفَرِكْ وَحَسِّلْ زَادَكْ. O Junada, prepare for the journey and acquire the means for this journey. See, the Imam is offering by saying that guidance is a duty and a covenant given not only to Allah by us, but also a covenant given to our grandfather. And when Junada hears this, immediately Junada says, O grandson of the Holy Prophet, advise me, tell me something, and admonish me so I can be aware of what to do in the life of this world. Show me a sense of direction. Give me a purpose to live in the life of this world. And to this, the Imam says, O Junada, prepare yourself for the journey. The journey that he is going to take, meaning death, the Imam is advising Junada, you also prepare for it and acquire the means that you are needed. Acquire the means. Zad, when we go for mountaineering, We have certain gear that we need to have before we can go on those mountains, especially if it's like Mount Everest. You need to have special gear. You need to have special guides. You need to have special equipment. You need to have special training before you can actually accomplish that task of going to the Mount Everest. If somebody just walks like living here in Houston in this weather into close to Mount Everest, even before we could walk, we will just fall on the ground out of the cold that would be there. So we need to prepare, we need to have those means for that journey. That journey is barzakh, and that journey is hereafter itself. And then the Imam says, O Junada, prepare for the journey and acquire the means for the journey before it comes to you, before your death arrives at your doorstep. وَعَلَمْ أَنَّكَ تَطْلُبُ الدُّنْيَا وَالْمَوْتُ يَطْلُبُكَ. Know, O Junada, that you are seeking this world, the life of this world, and death is seeking you. Death is going after you. So every moment that we are spending, we are spending, right? We are losing out of the breath that we have. So we have one lesser breath of life that we are going to have. Do we see like that? When we are traveling, for example, when we are in our homes, we have our iPhones or any other smartphones that we have, and we have a charging station and we do charge. But if we are traveling and if we don't have any means to recharge, how we save the battery life? I have little battery, don't make a longer phone call. You would specially say if your mom asks your phone to call someone. Don't we do that? Be quick because my battery is going to drain. We are careful. We are being humble in spending the battery because we know we do not have a recharger right now. We don't have a device to recharge ourselves. And here the Imam is saying that, oh Junada, while you are seeking this dunya, death is seeking you. So we are discharging every moment, every breath that we are spending. We have lost one breath. It has come, it has reduced from the account that we have. If we had $100,000, if a dollar a day is taken away, eventually it's going to run out. Our account is going to run out. And here this is what Imam is saying. Be watchful that death is approaching you, although what are you doing? You have engaged yourself in seeking this dunya. What are you supposed to do? You are supposed to seek the means for a journey that you are bound to confront in the form of death, which is barzakh. And then the Imam says, وَلَا تَحْمِلْ حَمَّ يَوْمِكَ الَّذِي لَمْ يَأْتِي عَلَى يَوْمِكَ. Do not be worried about the day. Do not be worried in a day about a day that has not come to you yet. This is a very, great wasiyah and the nasiyah of our Imam, my dear brothers and sisters. If we could even follow on one line what the Imam has said, we could transform our lives. The Imam is saying, do not be concerned about the day that has not come. What has prosperity done to us, especially in this part of the world? More people have fear of poverty in this country than, third world countries or even poorer countries. People are in a panic mode. They are fearful for their future all the time. And they are worried for a day that has not come in their lives. And the Imam is saying, do not fear for a day that has not come in your life. In a day when you have, Allah has given you this day, Allah has given you this opportunity, make most of the opportunity you have right now. And do not spend everything for a day that has not even arrived. When we hear all this stuff from motivational speakers who talk about how, they are talking with science and psychology and this and that, we find it to be very impressive. But my dear brothers and sisters, these are all the teachings of Ahlul Bayt, and they have done this hundreds and hundreds of years ago, 1400 years ago. And the Imam is showing how to reduce stress, not to be stressful. We are unnecessarily being stressful, and that is the reason we find humongous amount of bypass surgeries. The doctors who are in the business of heart surgeries are making tons and tons of money because of the stress the life is causing us. We are so stressful. Imam is saying, don't be worried, because Allah is our sustainer. Imam is teaching us to have tawakkul, to have reliance upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You do your best, but then rely upon Him. And then the Imam says, وَعْلَمْ أَنَّكَ لَا تَكْسِبُ مِنَ الْمَالِ شَيْئًا فَوْقَ خُوتِكَ إِلَّا كُنْتَ فِيهِ خَاذِنًا لِغَيْرِكَ. Know, O Junada, that seeking more than what you need only is going to reduce you into being a trustee for what you have collected and which belongs to others. Khut here is provisions. You can see this in Lane's lexicon also. Provisions by means of which the body of man is sustained. The Imam is saying that do not seek more than your khut, more than the provisions that are needed for you to sustain your body. Everything else that you have on top of it, you are only a trustee. You don't own it. It belongs to somebody else and you are a trustee for it. وَعْلَمْ أَنَّ فِي حَلَالِهَا حِسَابٌ. Know that, Junada, in what you seek through halal means, there is accountability. Even if you are seeking things through halal means, you have to be accountable how you have spent it. Hisabun. And if وَفِي حَرَامِهَا إِقَابٌ. And if you have collected this wealth, and if you have acquired this wealth through unlawful means, then there are consequences. There is chastisement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is iqab. وَفِي شُبُحَاتِ إِتَابٌ. And into those things that are doubtful, there is definitely going to be displeasure. So ensure that you try to acquire what is needed for your body to sustain. Anything more than that is only going to make you a trustee for others, and you will be accountable. If it was acquired through halal means, you are accountable. If you acquired through haram means, there is chastisement for things that you do not own. And then if there are doubtful means, then obviously there is going to be a displeasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Please say salawat. Now the Imam is giving us real practical advice and real practical examples, my dear brothers and sisters. If we can truly step up our iman by following this advice, our lives will definitely change. And the reason I'm saying, the reason I have kept this in the order of my speeches was, yesterday I was talking about how death is not reversible in Islam. You cannot come back. And we have already talked about the reasons why we cannot come back. So the time is now for us to act. And if we take advice from what the Imams have taught us, especially while they are in their deathbed, can you look at the passion and the love and the care of our Imams? He is dying and he is vomiting blood, and a companion of the Imam comes and seeks advice, and the Imam has forgotten everything that he is going through, and he is advising this person. This is the advice that was given by the Imam at his deathbed. Here the Imam says, فَأَنزِلْ الدُّنْيَا بِمَنْزِلَةِ الْمِيتَةِ. Make this dunya, make the life of this world and what you do in this world, how you would deal with a corpse, a dead corpse. How do we deal with a dead corpse? Make this dunya as if this is a dead corpse. How do we deal with a dead corpse? We will definitely say we are going to just throw it away. Of course, we will dispose it of as soon as we can because it stinks. Nobody wants to be near it. But what about those people who are stuck in a coal mine, and if their coal mine is closed and is flooded and they are stuck inside, and one of their friends who was with them, he also dies in that. How do they treat that mita? How do they treat that dead body, that corpse? Do they treat that dead body as exactly as we treat? No. We all know how they treat it. And we know that this can happen even in an advanced country like here. I think last year there was a coal mine in which there were, people were stuck, and also in South America somewhere. So the Imam is saying, deal with this world as if it is a dead body. What does the Imam means with it? Let us see what the Imam means. خُذْ مِنْهَا مَا يَكْفِيكَ. Take from it what is absolutely necessary for you. Absolutely necessary for you. A person who is stuck in a coal mine and his friend has passed away and he has no means of survival and he finds his dead friend lying down, how does he deal with that mita? How does he deal with that corpse? The Imam is saying, khuz fi, from it take which is absolutely necessary. Khuz minha ma yakfika, what is absolutely necessary for you. And we have found people, just to barely survive, they had to eat a dead corpse. And do you think they were cherishing and they were having a feast while doing it? I don't think anybody can imagine that the person who had to eat the flesh of his friend who died in a stuck coal mine was having a feast. He was eating only to ensure that he does not die, only so that he could survive. That's exactly what the Imam is saying. Deal with this world, the affairs of this world, as if this world is a mita, and take from it only that is absolutely necessary for you. وَإِنْ كَانَ حَرَامًا وَإِنْ كَانَ ذَلِكَ حَلَالًا كُنْتَ قَدْ زَهِدْتَ فِيهَا. If in that it was halal, it was lawful for you while you are seeking this, what you have sought was lawful, and you have only taken which was absolutely necessary for you, then you have practiced and lived a life of a zahid. You have lived as a person who was abstemious and who was humble and who has led an austere life. You have practiced zuhud. Zuhud is a great means to attain taqwa. And the Imam is saying, if what you have taken was halal, and if you have taken little from it, then you have led a life of a zahid, which all of us are aspiring to attain. وَإِنْ كَانَ حَرَامًا لَمْ يَكُنْ فِيهِ وِزْرٌ. And if it was haram for you to take what you have taken, and if you have taken, then it would become an excuse for you. You will be excused. What is the ruling of Islam when you are stuck in a situation where you will die if you do not eat a dead flesh of a dead animal, of an haram animal, even it gets to a point of a human being, the flesh of a human being? What does Islam say? Islam says you are allowed to. If that's the only means of surviving, you should not take your life away, and you have to survive under any circumstances. And the Imam is saying, although that is haram, in our normal life, eating dead is haram, absolutely haram. Eating, when we eat non-zabiha food also, it is included in the form of meeta, which is not zabiha, which is not halal. That's why it's haram, right? And also if we are eating things like swine and other things, it is haram. But under the circumstances that your life is going to extinguish, because if you don't eat, there is no other means of survival, that becomes an excuse, that is an uzr. And that's what the Imam is saying. If you have eaten from it, then you have an excuse in front of Allah. And then, وَإِنْ كَانَ الْعِتَابُ, and if you have taken something, كَمَا أَخَذْتَ مِنَ الْمَيْتَةِ, you will have an excuse if it was taken from this world, which was unlawful. You had an excuse, you have taken only what was minimal. And if you have taken something which was, and if there is even a punishment, if there is even a chastisement, and if there is even wrath, what you have taken was minimal to survive, then you are going to be accounted for that minimal that you have taken as a result of that. See, the Imam is teaching us how to lead a respectful and dignified life without worries, without stress, without pressure, without being under the slavery of this glittering world. And if you can lead this life, the Imam is saying you will have led this life as a zahid. And that's what we all are aspiring for. So now, then, the Imam says, how are you going to live in this world? وَعَمَلْ لِدُنْيَاكَ كَأَنَّكَ تَعِيشُ عَبَدًا. Act in this world as if you are going to live in this world forever. See, the Imam has said all those things, and if you had anything crossed your mind thinking, oh, I want to just live a very depressive life, Imam is saying, no, that's not what I meant. I am telling you that lead a life of a zahid, but live and act in this world as if you are going to be here forever. وَعَمَلْ لِآخِرَتِكَ كَأَنَّكَ تَمُوتُ غَدًا. And when you are acting for the sake of your akhirah, act as if this is the only opportunity you have now, and you are going to die tomorrow. How things are going to change if we are going to die, and if we know we are going to die. I remember reading one of the self-help books, in which one of the very famous self-help books author, he says, if you want to prioritize your life, you want to know you want to align your goals, what you really want to do in your life, then sit and write your own eulogy. By the way, we don't do eulogy. It's not even recommended that we say eulogy in our majalis. Our majalis for Isa Sawa, for those who have passed away, is only to make us be a form of, ibra, a lesson that somebody has passed away and we are also going to follow him. But eulogy, generally in the society here, talks about, the best things that the person had done. It talks about the most important things that he wanted to accomplish that are stated there. So when a person knows what he wants to be said in that eulogy, the self-help author says that, that's what you want to do in your life. Here the Imam is saying, when you're acting, when you're living in this world, act as if you're going to be here forever. Buy a house, although it's a long journey before you can pay it off. But knowing that you're going to live in this world. there was this guy a couple of months ago who was proclaiming and he was claiming that the day of judgment has arrived and the rapture has arrived and the Armageddon has arrived. These are all concepts that are very popular in Christianity, and essentially the whole world is going to end. And believing this guy, there was another retired person who spent his lifetime savings, spent about $150,000 posting advertisement and promoting this idea in subways in New York. And when it did not arrive, he lost everything. He did not have anything. He became penniless because he paid it for advertising. So the Imam is not saying that tomorrow, when I'm saying tomorrow you're going to die, that don't plan out your life. Plan out your life. But when you are acting for your akhirah, ensure that you have this passion and inspiration and knowledge that my life is not in my hands, but it's in Allah's hand, and Allah could take it whenever He wants. And it could be tomorrow. So I do all the virtuous and good deeds while I'm here in this world. We recite a salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And then the Imam says that if you seek honor, respect, without having a big clan, because in the Arabia at that time, people who had big families and big clans and big tribes, they were far more well respected out of the family and the clan that they had. And the Imam is saying, if you want to be honored and respected without having a huge clan and without having a big family, what you need to do? Or if you want to be honored and revered like the rulers, people are in awe of you. When they look at you, they have this haiba. You have this haiba that they could see, and they are in that awe. What are you supposed to do? The Imam says, take yourself away from ma'asiyah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you remove yourself away from sins, Allah is going to honor you, and Allah is going to grant you that awe that other people would look at you and will be inspired looking at you. And then the Imam says that if you want to interact and socialize and have friends, this is the important part that I would like to emphasize, especially for my young friends here and young brothers here, to learn the criteria of friendship. The Imam says, if you have to interact with people and have associations and friends, what are the types of friends you should take? That's what the Imam is saying. The Imam says that if you need, or if your needs require that you socialize and be in the company of others, then choose a companion whose company would be a source of adornment, enrichment, and reverence for you. Do not just go and get any company. Be very selective in making friends and having company. And that company should be a source of adornment, not a source of shame for you. That are the kind of friends we need to seek. And then the Imam begins to describe how the friendship should be. He says, if you serve him, this friend, if you serve this friend, he would protect you. If you seek his help, he would immediately help you. If you say something, he would testify its authenticity. Your friend is going to testify you. Your friend is not going to walk out on you. Your friend is not going to walk away from you when you need his help. Please recite a salawat. And if you wanted to confront someone roughly, if you're confronted with somebody that you need to deal with that person, your friend is going to be supporting you and stand by you. This is the friendship. If you desire to extend your hand towards generosity and giving, he would not be a source of obstruction. Your friend should not be a source of obstruction when you're trying to be generous. Rather would help you and assist you and stand by you. And he would not be a source of obstruction, rather would help you and assist you. If you are confronted with obstacles, he would work towards eradicating those obstacles. Your friend is going to eradicate the obstacles that come between you being generous. He's going to be there for you. If he sees goodness of your actions, he would account it and not withdraw himself from it. If he sees some good action, he's going to take part in it. He's not going to say, bro, you go and do your salat, I'm going to just be outside chilling out. He's not going to do that. He has to be a companion in your good deeds. If he's not, then he's not your friend, according to Islam. If you want something from him, he would grant it to you. The culture of friendship now is, especially here, we blame the French for that, I think. When we go to a restaurant, we say, we are going French, right? So everybody buys his own thing. That's how it is? It's French, right? They call it French. Dutch, I'm sorry. They call it Dutch. I have a gap of interaction now. So we blame the Dutch for that. But how should be a friend? Your friend should be supporting you. Even, if you ask something immediately, he should keep it in front of you. We don't find friends like that. And then how he should be, if he sees goodness of your action, okay. If you want something from him, he would grant it to you. When you needed something and refrained from asking him, he would initiate it and give it to you. He knows that you need something even before you ask. And if you are not even asking him, he would realize that you need this and he is going to grant that to you. This is how your friend should be. He would fulfill your needs without asking. If in some instances he is engulfed in unwanted situations, your friendship with him should be such that it would put you in pain and discomfort and sorrow. This is the kind of friendship that Islam is talking about, my dear brothers and sisters. If we are seeking friends, these are the traits that the friend should have. Because in Islam, friendship does not end here in this world. You might have heard the famous statements how the society is eroding its morality and its moral values. I remember during the era of the past, not very far away, one of the very senior officials said that we don't have friends, we have allies. And what he meant by allies was, we have interests. Wherever our interest serves us, we call them our allies. And whenever our interests are not in that nation, we will change the direction. Islam does not believe in a friendship like this. Islam believes in a friendship that stands by you not only in this life, but also in the hereafter. The verse of Quran says, Al-aqilla'u yawma'izin ba'dhuhum li-ba'dhin adu illa al-muttaqin. Friends will be foes of each other. This is the verse of Holy Quran. Friends will be foes of each other, enemies of each other, yawma'izin, on the day of judgment. On the day of judgment, friends will be enemies of each other, except for muttaqeen, except for friends who are muttaqeen, except the bonds of friendship that had taken place amongst those two God-fearing people. If we have taqwa in this life, and if we have a friend who is muttaqi, he is going to be a source of help, and he is going to intercede on our behalf if we are running short of resources on the day of judgment by interceding us. Please recite a salawat. When the Imam said all this, Junada also wanted to comfort the Imam, and he says, "Oh Imam, why are you crying?" The Imam is crying. While he's saying all this, he's advising Junada, and at the same time the Imam is crying. Why are you crying? Yabna Rasulullah, atabki wa makanuka min Rasulillah allazi anta bihi wa qad qala fika Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam ma qal wa qad hajjajta 20 hajjatan mashiya. O grandson of the Holy Prophet, why are you crying? Why do I see this sorrow in your heart? Junada knows that the Imam is dying. And he says, the Prophet of Allah had said what he has said. Meaning that you are one of the youths of paradise, the leader of the youths of paradise. Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein are the leaders of the youths of paradise. And then you have performed the holy pilgrimage of Hajj 20 times in your life, walking. The Imam had walked to the Hajj, and still you are crying. And then the Imam says that, "Oh Junada," and then Junada says, "Then you are the one who possessed this quality, who had given everything he had in the way of Allah thrice in his life, even up to your slippers." Imam Hassan had given all his wealth, everything that he had in his home, he had given in the way of Allah. And Junada is testifying, saying, "Oh Imam, you have given even your slippers thrice. He have given everything in charity, everything that he had. And you are concerned?" The Imam says, "Innama abki li khaslatayn." I am crying due to two things that I am concerned. لِحَوْلِ الْمُتَّلِعِ وَفِرَاخِ الْأَحِبَّةِ. I am crying because of the anxiety and the sorrow and the concern I have that I am going to meet my Creator. I am going to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I am concerned about the liqa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the other thing the Imam mentions is leaving my family. But here also we find that while the Imam is advising his companion, he is concerned about departing from this world, and his cries are in the awe of meeting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, my dear brothers and sisters. And then the riwayah continues, it mentions how Imam Hussein arrived, and then the Imam mentions, ask him his health, and the Imam says, "Oh my dear brother." The Imam Hassan replies, when Imam Hussein says, "How are you doing?" the Imam says, "I am spending my last day in this world, and today would be my first day in my hereafter. I am leaving this world. This is how I am spending my last moments of my life." And then the Imam hugs Imam Hassan and kisses him, and then the Imam passes away all the inheritance of Imama to Imam Hussein, and then he passes away. My dear brothers and sisters, this is the wasiyah of Imam Hassan alayhi salam to a companion. I wish and I hope, especially with the martyrdom of Imam Hussein, that Allah inspire us to act upon it. Today we are going to talk about the son of Imam Hassan alayhi salam, Hazrat Qasim, and the valor and the bravery and the commitment and the spirit of sacrifice Hazrat Qasim had. Although Hazrat Qasim was a very young boy, probably of 13 years, he was so young that he did not have the battle uniform or the shield and all the things that other fighters would wear to protect themselves when they go into the battlefield. But yet we find Hazrat Qasim being very, very passionate about his commitment to Islam and about his covenant to the Imam. Because it is Hazrat Qasim who was asked, how do you see death? And Hazrat Qasim had said, I see death to be sweeter than honey. Meaning, if I am on the path of righteousness, if I am on the path of haqq, if I am being oppressed, if my rights are being taken away by oppressors, and I am withstanding and withholding without oppressing others, and death confronts me in that situation, then it is sweeter to me than honey. This is the advice and the belief of Hazrat Qasim. And he did not just say it, he actually proved it. When he went into the battlefield, he actually proved it. Hazrat Qasim